What's the word? Took a bird. I got fresh heat straight off Hoover Street. Like, subscribe, and comment. I don't care if it's about some real shit or some nonsense. Look, I ran across this little video right now. Hope it's crazy because I was sitting there chilling, smoking and shit. I was thinking about some shit. You know what I'm saying? Really just putting some content together. You feel me? Not trying to throw anything out here. You feel me? Just has a gang of bullshit. But I got some fire shit on Verge. I got some stories. I got all type of shit going on. Like I say, I just don't like when I don't want to get into no stories and start to throw a lot of niggas out there. You feel me? That don't really want to be on there. But I'm gonna get into this video right here. For those who don't know about the homies and those who want their history, because there's a lot of shit going on. We got the shit in Texas going on. We got the shit out here with Percy and the shit with man. And all this shit going on, man. Motherfuckers don't know where they come from. So, not to just have a gang of controversy, just to get back into the homies and let niggas know, you know what I'm saying, how groovy the homies is and what niggas do got going. And where we come from, our structure. And those who don't know, real shit, I'm looking at this shit. It was kind of good, though. It's a lot of correction in it. You feel me? That a nigga can correct. And it ain't nothing that too much nigga gonna say because a lot of shit that I'm saying that I'm gonna correct on here is on Under the Groove. You know what I'm saying? With the homie Bub. Shout out to Under the Groove. And you can get it straight from there. You feel me? So it ain't nothing that I could too much compensate on that. They ain't too much said already. So let's get into this video, man.
It's Hooverz versus everybody. These dudes are feared, hated, and known to bring smoke to anyone in their way. They don't roll for peace. They seek power, respect, and revenge. Even other Crips sets don't trust them. Why? Because Hooverz flipped the script. They broke off from the Crips and started calling themselves criminals. And from that moment on, the game changed. This is the story of the most hated gang in LA and why nobody wants problems with it. The set that turned the city on fire. Los Angeles has always been a city of dreams, but for some, it's been a war zone. In the streets of South Central, dreams didn't come easy. You had to fight for respect. You had to protect your name. And in the middle of it all, gangs ruled with locks. They controlled corners, claimed colors, and settled beefs in the loudest, bloodiest ways possible. Out of all the gangs.
Yeah, but that's like a misconception too, man, because on the set, when I grew up, we grew up, like if you see an old lady, man, you open the door. That's just having good mannerism. You feel me? Then we grew up, I grew up like, if you like, it could be driving by on the bike, nigga. If I see her got groceries, I'm gonna help her at least to the porch, or at least I'm gonna have at least see the axe. You feel me? So then I'm saying, like, we had a porch, we sitting all on the fucking stairs and shit. Somebody want to walk by, nigga. We had the DC to get up before they come down. You feel me? We wasn't gonna let nobody just bogart. Then we had situations on 94th one, you know what I'm saying, 93rd. Excuse me. When an older lady tried to bogart away and the hunger had to get up on her, but other than that, we had enough respect not to hit up on the walls, to call the police. We wasn't doing just a lot of disrespectful shit, so we know how to carry ourselves. So I don't want that be all out there. Those who grew up with me and motherfucker that been around a nigga know we had respect and love around that motherfucker. They wasn't calling the police on us fucking with us. You feel me? On the set, and we had a cut from Century, 101st, nigga, all the way down to fucking the 80s, nigga. We had a cut everywhere. So, you know, that's just me growing up. Feel me? Like, you know, just reflecting on that. So we ain't always just start a lot of violence and shit. Hoover had a lot more love than we had just hating around in the set. I mean, especially in our community with us.
Gangs that made their mark, the Hoover Criminals gang stood out. Not just for their numbers or the territory, but for how they moved. They didn't just go to war with rivals. They went to war with everybody. The Hoovers weren't about peace treaties or alliances. They were about survival, domination, and putting fear in hearts. In LA gang history, their name rings the loudest because they didn't just beef with Bloods. They didn't just bang on Crips. They banged on both. It all started in the 1970s, down on Hoover Street, between Vermont and Figueroa. What began as the Hoover Groovers turned into something much more violent and fierce. At first, they were Crips.
And then look, let's get something understood. From my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, you feel me? From my understanding, Hoover Groovers was a whole nother thing. Yeah, Hoover Groover had nothing to do with Hoover. Hoover came out, Hoover Crip, excuse me. Hoover Crip came out way after Hoover Groover. So let's get that right. Hoover Groover is not Hoover Crip. It's a whole nother entity.
But over time, things changed. The Hoovers split off and started doing their own thing. The streets started calling them Hoover Criminals, and they earned that title, block fight.
Then they didn't go. They went to Hoover Crips. It didn't go to Hoover Groovers and then Hoover Criminals. It went to Hoover, then Hoover Groovers. Then it broke. You know, that was his own thing. Then that's when Hoover Crip came along. Feel me? Mind you, as I know too, we said we had Hoover Bloods, Hoover family bloods. I don't know how far that went before, you feel me? But that's another thing that the older homies can kind of break down too. But for that, you feel me? That's how the pattern went. So it wasn't just Hoover Rovers, then Hoover criminals. No, it was Hoover Crip. Criminals was something that the homies had, you feel me? And then it kind of evolved to where people are like I do now, like it was like out, like an outcast, excuse me. And we do our own thing. You know, we creators. We creators on Hoover. That's what we do. From the beginning of time all the way down the line, Hoover's been creators, bro. We've been creating everything on Verge, from just the stump, from the gangs, everything, nigga, from everything we did on Verge. It been mimicked. That's a fact. They say hood days, but this what I don't understand. It can't be hood days because, like the homie Hebrew, really Hebrew said, he made a lot of sense. How it's gonna be? It start with 8-9 East Coast Bear. Munchie, on Hubble, Munchie said that on the what you call it, Richard Hart podcast is debatable, but it's not debatable because you mean to tell me they started 8-9 East Coast, and then why 9 Deuce wasn't the first day? That mean tell me 9 Deuce was the first hood day, but it's not. It's 7-4 had the first hood day, 4th of July. But understand, why would I start from 8-9 and then don't have a hood day all the way to next year to 7-4? That don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? We got to be logical now. So let's get into this.
What made them different wasn't just the color they wore or the signs they threw up, it was the mindset. Hooverz versus everybody wasn't just a slogan, it was the truth. While most gangs had sets they could call allies, the Hoovers cut those ties. They didn't trust no one. Other gangs started to see them as a threat, even the ones that once stood beside them. And the Hoovers embraced it. That hate, they wore it like a badge. As one street legend once said, they was enemies with everybody, but they didn't care. They liked it that way. That's how deep their hatred ran, for rivals and even for those who weren't on their level. From the 43s to the 112s, every Hoover set held it down in their own zone. But that same energy ran through them all. The streets were watching. And when the Hoovers stepped out, the whole city took notice. Because when it came to gang life in LA, they weren't just in the mix, they were the storm. And their story is just getting started. But to understand the concept of Hoovers and why they went against everybody, we need to trace things back to the origins. And that's where the Crips come in. The rise of the Crips.
And shout out to the Lokes, man, on here on Verge. I'm seeing a lot of the homies popping up, man, on Verge 2-4, Trey 4, 9, 7, 11. On Verge, shout out to the Lokes, man. I see all the homies popping up on Verge.
Streets. Raymond Washington and Stanley Tookie Williams were the two names.
Shout out to them too.
Raymond repped the east side and Tookie ran the west. When they came together, they had one goal: to unite all the neighborhood street crews under one name, the Crips. At first, it was about sticking together and pushing back against the chaos around them. But it didn't stay like that for long. They started small, but things picked up fast.
This picture right here. This is a good picture right here. Let me see, no, what other one? That's another picture of the
one purpose, power. Crips became a name that struck fear in Los Angeles. It was a fighting alliance, Tookie said in his book, nothing more, nothing less. And from that point on, everything changed. Sets started popping up everywhere. By the late 1970s, they weren't just a crew, they were a full-on army. In the beginning, the Crips wore blue because of a guy named Curtis Buddha Morrow. He rocked blue Levi's, blue shirts, and suspenders. After he got shot in '73, Crip members wore blue to honor him. It became their color. their uniform, their flag. But that unity didn't last long. After Raymond Washington was killed in 1979 and Tookie got locked up for murder the same year, the Crips lost their leadership. Without anyone calling the shots, different Crip sets started turning on each other. It became Crip on Crip beef, rolling 60s versus 8 trays, East Coast Crips versus Hoover Crips. The unity cracked, and all-out war broke loose in South Central. At one point, there were 45 different Crip sets in LA alone, and a lot of them didn't get along. The Hoover Crips were one of those sets. They ended up cutting ties and later became something else entirely, the Hoover Criminals. But before we get to that part, it's important to understand how the Crips became their own worst enemy. One by one, the old alliances broke. Gangs that once stood side by side were now blasting at each other over colors, corners,
Niggas tripping, nigga, what?
Gangster Crips and the neighborhood.
That's crazy because on with me growing up, nigga, I remember homies used to be tripping, nigga, on Bird, I used to be dumb. I'm seeing Lil T-Bird, nigga, on Hoover, nigga, Bambino, on Hoover, nigga, Big T-Bone, you know what I'm saying? Niggas like that, Big Groove Mac, you know what I'm saying? Niggas like that, bro, tripping, nigga, on one, nigga, older homies on Bird Gang, nigga. Nigga on bullshit, on Hooverz, nigga just really on bullshit, homie Scorpion from the trade, like on Hoover, the homie Cuba from the trade, left, like, you know what I'm saying? But just me seeing how the homies the group on Hoover, like even, you know, not to give no light to nobody that's bad on here, but the homie from Say Low, nigga, that black jab nigga on Hoover, like seeing these type of niggas and how they grew, just how they grew, I'm like, damn, these niggas is crazy on Hooverz. Just giving the mindset of how I watch, you know what I'm saying, these type of niggas and scanners, like, damn, these niggas was like, on Hoover, and then, you know what I'm saying, like, this shit was crazy on Hoover. For my generation from seeing this shit, now just watered down, bro, it's crazy. It ain't the same, but.
Crips became two separate camps, forcing other sets to pick a side, and picking wrong could get you killed. The name Crips has different stories behind it. Some say it started as Cribs because the gang was made up of young kids, barely teens. Others say it came from the way members carried canes and started getting called Cripples. Eventually, people shortened it to Crips. By 1972, newspapers were using the word. And by the mid-70s, everybody in the city knew what it meant. Some folks tried to give it deeper meanings, like community revolution and progress.
I'm gonna go for to the homies.
Lanes didn't back down. Then came,
I'm gonna go to the homies.
and LA became a battlefield. The problem was, said it was about surviving in the hood. The Crips spread fast. Young people were joining for protection, reputation, or just to belong.
Have a look for it.
Crip on Crip beef. But after his death, there was too much growth led to too many egos. And without strong leadership, those egos clashed. Washington always wanted to avoid Crip on Crip beef, but after his death, there was no stopping it. Every set wanted to be on top. And when one set got disrespected, retaliation was automatic. By 1971, the Crips were outnumbering every other gang in South Central. That power made enemies. Gangs like the LA Brims, Athens Park Boys, and Denver Lanes didn't back down. Then came the Piru Street Boys. At first,
that's one thing I could say, man. I give it to the Lanes, man, on Bird. I ain't trying to get no lights, you know what I'm saying? I ain't no hater, nigga, but I can say for them to be a little gang, bro, on Bird from the beginning, they always held that shit down. They tried to hold it down, bro, because on Bird, I remember my time, I was young, bro, and we used to go at it with them niggas on Bird. We used to go at it, bro, and remind me, I was looking at the thing with the nigga from South Florida. And I used to go at it with a nigga named Lil Crow from South Florida, man. And this shit was crazy. Like, I was in camp with him and all that nigga named Fernando Avalos. I'll never forget him, a big old nigga. We squabbled like 2 times on Hooverz, nigga. I didn't like this nigga for shit. We got out before I did my time. We used to be getting into it, all type of shit, man. But it's just crazy how nigga, like, they like a little, you know what I'm saying? But they always try to hold their shit down.
Too. But by 1973, things turned ugly. The Pirates broke off after catching heat from other Crip sets and decided enough was enough. They linked up with other rivals of the Crips and formed something new, the Bloods. That move started one of the longest and bloodiest gang rivalries in American history, Crips versus Bloods, and the streets never looked the same after that. But even inside the Crips, the war didn't stop. Some of the most brutal fights weren't against the Bloods. They were between Crips themselves. Rolling 60s versus 8 Trey Gangsters, Grape Streets versus PJ Watts. Set after set started beefing, and somewhere in the middle of all that was the Hoovers. The Hoover Crips had enough. The constant drama, the betrayals, the backstabbing. It pushed them to flip the script. In the mid-1990s, they dropped the Crip name and started calling themselves Hoover Criminals. They weren't rolling with nobody, not gangster Crips, not neighborhood Crips, not even other Hoover sets.
Like I said before, that was something that the homies had it there. The narrative kind of got out of context, and that's something that the homies just ran with. You feel me? From my understanding, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. Something that the homie had, nigga, and they just went, and that's what niggas, you know, all them niggas like we wasn't Crip. You know what I'm saying? Just like niggas branched off with Hoover. You know what I'm saying? So niggas started, or they just Crip niggas started, you know what I'm saying? Like niggas like just try to be on some weird shit, bro. So it was a time where we just like, if you ain't Hoover, nigga, nigga don't give a fuck. So from there, whenever we start anything else or any type of entity off that, they automatically gonna push us to they on their own shit. So you know what I'm saying? That's how I believe that started, cause you got still homies that push Crip, and niggas be against that. You can't just Crip in front of them, they be tripping. Young niggas too. In my generation, bro, niggas don't got their C's crossed out, niggas still push. So, you know what I'm saying? That's just my experience with the set.
They didn't fall in line. They became something else, something more dangerous. Hooverz versus everybody wasn't just a saying, it was a way of life. They didn't play sides. They made enemies out of everyone, and they didn't care. From that moment on, the Hooverz would go down as one of the most hated and most feared sets in all of LA. And that hate, that's what kept them alive. Because when the whole city is against you, the only ones you can count on are the ones wearing orange. Let's go deeper. Because once the Hooverz broke off, the streets were never the same again. The Hoover story? It all goes back to the streets of South Los Angeles. Before the Hoover criminals became a name that echoed fear across cities, they were just another group trying to survive in a broken system. The gang started in the 1960s on Hoover Street, right between Vermont Avenue and Figueroa Avenue. Back then, they were called the Hoover Groovers. These weren't rich kids. They didn't have after-school programs or summer camps. What they had was each other, the block, and a need to belong. But even before the Crips existed, the Hoovers were already moving through the streets. Then came the shift. One of the original members of the Hoover Groovers lost his younger brother in a killing. Rumors spread and blame fell heavy on the West Side Crips. Instead of going straight to war, the Hoovers and West Side Crips met up at the St. Andrews Park. After talking it out, they decided someone else was responsible, the Figueroa Boys. The beef didn't stay quiet for long. The leader of the Figueroa Boys got jumped hard at a club in LA, and from there, the Hoovers were in it. By the mid-70s, the Hoover Groovers dropped the Groovers part and became the Hoover Crips. It was all about alliances back then.
I don't know what he talking about. He went into some whole other Hoover Groover. I don't know about the Hoover Groover thing. They gotta understand. Well, let's go back. What he talking about Hoover Groover was
criminals became a name that echoed fear across cities. They were just another group trying to survive in a broken system. He fucked it up
because he sat there and said Hoover Criminal first, then he said he went to Hoover Groovers. He fucked up the whole thing, man. The shit was Hoover Groovers first, but Hoover Groover was something else that was before Hoover Crip. It was whole something different, so. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I ain't sitting under the groove. I ain't already got on there. If y'all go get up on there and get your education, those who don't know. But he kind of fucked up the pattern on the shit, you feel me? But, you know what I'm saying? It was Hoover Groove was first, and that was something way before it was Hoover Crip.
The 1960s on Hoover Street, right between Vermont Avenue and Figueroa Avenue. Back then, they were
criminal was not.
Hoovers. These weren't rich kids. They didn't have after-school programs or summer camps. What they had was each other, the block, and a need to belong. But even before the Crips existed, the Hoovers were already moving through the streets. Then came the shift. One of the original members of the Hoover Groovers lost his younger brother in a killing. Rumors spread and blame fell heavy on the West Side Crips.
Okay, so I mixed him up when he said that on verse. I thought he was saying that it was, you know what I'm saying, that's my fault. I'm filming on the video. I thought he was saying we went from Hoover Criminal first and then Hoover Groovers.
Instead of going straight to war, the Hoovers and West Side Crips met up at the St. Andrews Park. After talking it out, they decided someone else was responsible, the Figueroa Boys. The beef didn't stay quiet for long. The leader of the Figueroa Boys got jumped hard at a club in LA, and from there, the Hoovers were in it. By the mid-70s, the Hoover Groovers dropped the Groovers part and became the Hoover Crips. It was all about alliances back then. The Hoovers rolled with the West Side Crips, but things on the streets weren't just about friendship. In 1979, a deadly rivalry broke out between the Rollin' 60s and 8-Tray gangsters. This fight changed the Crip world. Gangs had to pick a side. If you rocked with the Rollin' 60s, you repped the neighborhood Crips, also called Deuce Gangs or 2X. If you sided with the 8-Trays, you were Gangster Crips, known as Trays or 3X. The Hoovers chose the gangster side, so they started banging as Hoover Gangster Crips, but the drama wasn't over. In August 1979, Raymond Washington got murdered in a drive-by. The streets lit up with rumors. The East Side Crips pointed fingers at the Hoovers. That moment kicked off a war between the Hoovers and other Crip sets still loyal to Washington. And once that line was crossed, there was no going back. The Hoovers had beef with their own. When the crack era hit the hood in the 1980s, the Hoovers leveled up fast. Money, guns, and power flooded the blocks. The Hoover gangster Crips were in deep. They weren't just another set.
And shout out to the homies, man. And everybody on here, not just my homies, you feel me? Everybody that's on here, because you gotta understand, a lot of dudes that they showing on these videos, they probably passed away. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they probably passed away. They probably got family. You feel me? There's a lot of dudes on here from different gangs, man, different shit. And I got just like a lot of jail pictures that they posted. They didn't got. You feel me? But on the dead homie, shout out to all these people on here. A lot of these motherfuckers probably rest in peace. You feel me? Probably in jail, got life. Probably there's some real niggas on here.
They were a name that came with bodies. People on the block said when shots rang out, you already knew who the cops were gonna blame. And they were usually right. One name that added heat to the Hoovers was Ricky Freeway Ross, a drug kingpin with serious ties to the Hoover sets, like the 52 Hoovers and the 74 Hoover criminals. With him in the mix, the gang started stacking serious bread, but with that power came bloodshed. Crip sets turned on them. The streets got hotter, and by the 1990s, the Hoovers made a decision that shocked the city. They cut the Crip name, done, over. They weren't riding with the Crip card anymore. From that moment forward, they were the Hoover criminals, and they let it be known loud and clear. Their taglines, Ask and EBK, anybody killer, everybody killer. Didn't matter if you banged red or blue. If you weren't Hoover, you were food. Speaking of which, on their turf, walls were tagged with BK for blood killer, CK for Crip killer, and OK for Rollin' O's killer. They weren't holding back. It was all
That nigga said Rollin' O's. That nigga retarded.
That mentality, burning bridges with former allies and sparking both Bloods and Crips, made them the most hated set in LA. Colors, signs, and the code of orange. Hoovers rep a different style. Most Crips wear blue, but after they broke off, the Hoover criminals adopted orange. Their inspiration, the Houston Astros. They started wearing Astros caps with a big H to represent Hoover. Orange became their new identity, though some older sets like the 52 Hoover still mix blue in. Their hand sign is a thumb tucked between the index and middle fingers to form an H. Simple, sharp, and loud. It wasn't just for show. That H told you what time it was. You were either with them or against them. And in the Hoover's world, there was no in-between. Even though they stood solo, the Hoovers still had ties within their own family.
Niggas tripping, nigga on the dead homies everywhere. That's why niggas tap in. Everybody got to get on one accord on Bird. I got to get at Gorilla Hebrew on Bird, the homies, you know what I'm saying? Gumbo. A few homies, man, we just tap in, nigga, with the homies, nigga, nationwide. Let niggas know, Birds, nigga. We can go get some money, some real money, nigga, some legit money with this shit. You feel me? And do something better, nigga, on Purge and put everybody in so niggas can feed their family. Real shit, though. This real shit. Niggas ain't gotta be doing this, you know what I'm saying? That's where nigga come from. You gotta do something better, though. Where nigga going?
Matter. That is,
don't have me do it.
Went left,
you gotta do that shit together.
Mafia Crips. Back in 2009, both gangs were at a party together. Something popped off, and just like that, the alliance shattered. Later that month, a young Hoover member, Daquan Allen, only 13 years old.
And on Hoover, that's you know what I'm saying? On Bird, I gotta get my little nigga Touche at least 4 seconds. Oh, Hoover, and that's my little bro right there, man. Rest in peace to my little brother, man. On Bird, good little nigga. I always see my little nigga all the time. Good little nigga, always high spirit, good smile on Birds, nigga. He don't ask for much, you know, good little nigga. He just want to be around. Nigga on Bird want to be accepted. He was never like no headache, no nothing. Dead homies, nigga. He know how to push. I remember, nigga, last time I seen him, he got into it with the homie baby Silent, you know what I'm saying, nigga, at his house. And it was over a bike or something. They started playing with him, take his bike and shit, go to the gas station, whatever, and go back to his house. He get mad and call the homie H-Mac on Bird. H-Mac come over there, and I think Tiny called H-Mac, BH or something, his kid, they come over there and the little nigga tripping over his bike. Oh, he tripping, he called the homie, he's on the homie for a bike. He was tripping, nigga, he wanted to fade, nigga, he wanted squabbles over that bike, he was tripping.
Old and repping 94 Hoover was walking home from the mall wearing his orange bandana. A Main Street Mafia Crip, Christopher Thomas, rolled up on him and asked, "Where are you from?" Allen responded, "94 Hoover criminal gang." Moments later, he was gunned down. After Allen was killed, the streets went cold and quiet, but only for a minute. The Hoover criminals don't talk, they act. Just 9 days later, on August 25th, 2009, gunfire broke out in the heart part of Main Street territory. Two Main Street Mafia Crip members, Drayvon James, 29, and Robert Nelson, just 16, were shot dead. Both caught multiple rounds. Police didn't even hesitate. They believed it was the Hoovers, striking back fast, up close.
It's crazy because the nigga remember that shit like yesterday, bro. You know what I'm saying? As far as me, you know what I'm saying? Like being out there, remind you, I went to jail like right after that shit. So that shit was kind of crazy, bro, for me being out there. And like I say, that shit sparked a lot of shit. You feel me? How it went. So just being there and just being right there when all this shit kicked off, bro. You know what I'm saying? Before the little homie got killed, that shit's crazy, bro. Real shit. Like for me though, for me, you know what I'm saying? For me, it's like damn, bro. I just remembering that shit.
And personal. That wasn't the first war they sparked, and it wouldn't be the last. By the late 1980s and 1990s, the Hoovers had beef with everybody. East Side Crips, Rollinos, Gangster Crips, Bloods, even Hispanic gangs weren't safe. The Hoovers ran with an ask model, just like the Mexican Mafia. No friends, only targets. What made it worse was that they liked it that way. One Hoover said it best, ain't no love out here, that's how we move. And even with that much hate aimed at them, they stayed standing, still active, still deep, still dangerous. From the 32 dead-end Hoovers to the 112 Laylos, every set carried the same energy. When you saw orange, you either stepped back or stepped up. Because one thing's for sure, when Hoovers hit the street, it ain't ever quiet. Speaking of which, when the Hoovers declared war on the streets, they didn't hold back. Their list of enemies is long and bloody. Raymond Ave Crips, East Coast Crips, Neighborhood Crips, Rollin' D's, Rollin' 100s, and now even the Main Street Mafia Crips. Anyone could get it. And when the 112 Hoover criminals gang started beefing with the Denver Lane Bloods, it got so bad that a chunk of 112's own neighborhood got taken over. That's how serious the war was. The 1990s turned into a battlefield. The Hoovers had...
That's not really true. They don't have no truth to it, you feel me? But they don't have no truth to it. But it was a war, you feel me, within each other, because that's a honey beef. And, you know, they surrounded the 107s and Lebanon surrounded by everything around that motherfucker, and they beef with them. They beef with just imagine they beef with everything in the hundreds. They don't get along with nothing in the hundreds. So that's why, shout out to the homies, nigga, on Verse.
Already flipped from Crips to criminals, and with that came a new mindset. Anybody killer, BK, CK. Okay, blood killer, Crip killer, Rollinos killer. They wrote it on walls. They lived it in the streets. Shootings weren't rare, they were expected. The Hoovers earned a name for being one of the most violent sets in all of Los Angeles. If you lived there, raising a family wasn't just tough, it was dangerous. But the violence didn't stop with just Bloods and Crips. The Hoovers even got into it with South Lost 13, a Sereno gang known for being racist and ruthless. The Hoovers didn't care. If you weren't with them, you were in the way. And if you were in the way, you better pray you didn't get caught slipping. The streets of South Central LA weren't enough. In the 1980s, the Hoovers started spreading out looking for new turf to run their drug leagues.
Yeah,
but
nigga.
here's the twist.
Most Hoovers
outside LA still claim Crips.
That shit like 92 times.
Those shifted depending on the location. In Seattle, Portland, Houston, and Oklahoma City, Hoover sets began popping up. One of the biggest was in Seattle. The 74 Hoover Crips were started in the mid-1990s by George Edward Henderson, better known as OGP Nut. That name carried weight. He built up a crew of 200 to 250 active members. But in 2006, OGP Nut got taken out in a shootout outside a restaurant. The game took another one. In Portland, the Hoovers moved heavy. They got the 112s, the 107s, and the 74s all banging under the Hoover name. Just like in LA, their main beef is with the Rollin' 60s neighborhood Crips. Both gangs operate in the same space, and it's a constant back and forth. One fight in 2002 said it all. It started with a dogfight, illegal, bloody, and vicious. Things got out of hand.
Man, I'm gonna stop it right there, man. Y'all here, go like, subscribe, and comment on Verse. Give me your interpretation about that, the homies, you feel me? A lot of that shit have a lot of accuracy to it, a lot of don't, you feel me? Like I say, a lot of it y'all wanna go check out, y'all can go under the groove or something on Hoover. Like I say, like, subscribe, and comment. I don't care about some real shit, some nonsense. It's just some little shit I ran across that I wanna conversate about, you feel me? Have a dialogue about, converse about, I ain't tripping. Shit I seen, I found interest too. I ain't watched the whole thing, like 2 or 3 minutes and wanted to share. So, like, subscribe, comment, man. Have a good one. Do love.